McMillan.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Communications. My question is, what impact does the NBN have on the debt burden faced by the government? How have previous approaches to the NBN impacted on the budget?
I call the Honourable Minister for Communications.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I thank the honourable member for his question. Now, for 6 years, the Labor government worked not towards the light on the hill, Madam Speaker, but towards the great liability on the hill. That was their effort, 6 years towards that big liability. And one of the major components of that was the delusion that the national broadband network would be a wonderful investment. Indeed, when it was first announced by Prime Minister Rudd, he said it was going to be so fantastic that mums and dads would be lining up to invest in it. You could just imagine the government bringing in the crowd control barriers, training the AFP to link arms to hold back the hordes of anxious investors desperate to get their stake. But the Prime Minister Rudd, he said, no, you can only have 49%. You can only have 49%.
And the member for
well,
Melbourne Port.
That fantasy didn't last very long. But even as recently as last year, in the middle of last year, Senator Conroy and Senator Wong were out there claiming the project would generate a rate of return of 7%. And they said,
the honourable member for Isaacs.
The minister knows that he is required by the standing orders to be directly relevant, Speaker, and he has not yet even attempted to be directly relevant.
The minister has the call.
Yeah, well, speaking of the bar, the Education Minister, Madam Speaker, it reminds me again of the late Neville Rand's great line, anyone can go to jail if they get the right lawyer, and we're constantly reminded of that every time the member for Isaacs gets up. Madam Speaker, the Labor Party's NBN, had it been continued with, would have had a peak funding requirement of $73 billion, which would have amounted to more than 10%. And I'd ask the honourable member to withdraw. Madam Speaker, I'm wounded. It's offended the House.
The member for Greenway will withdraw.
I withdraw.
The minister has
Thank
the
you.
call.
I'm feeling a bit better now. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm very sensitive. Madam Speaker, had the Labor Party stayed in office, within the decade we would have had $667 billion of debt, and more than 10% of that would have been contributed by their misguided national broadband network project. So what are we doing? Well, we can't recover most, if any, of the billions they've wasted to date. But what we can do is finish the project sooner, cheaper and more affordably. It will be cheaper for consumers and over $30 billion less expensive for taxpayers. And, Madam Speaker, the government is very much in the position of Mr. Wolf in that great movie Pulp Fiction, cleaning up the mess. But the difference is that in that movie, John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson helped clean up the mess they made and didn't get in the way of it.